If you are someone who is into Japanese media or had a period of time where you were into Japanese media, whether that be games, movies or anime, you probably have seen portrayals of summer in Japan. That kind of feeling you get when you hear the cicadas in anime, when you see the sun beating down through the trees, watching a train as it pulls away from a little station in the countryside, when you see the fun of festivals, there is this particular feeling. To me, it almost feels like nostalgia, and it feels very calming and carefree. I've experienced quite a lot of Japanese media where either the whole setting takes place during summer or part of the story does, taking place near oceans, the countryside, on beaches. There is a lot of it, and whether you like them or not, they all radiate this particular energy. As someone who doesn't like the heat or really summer in general, I think I found comfort in this kind of summer. One which I could experience from afar through a computer screen and still feel the sense of being warm and relaxed. With the long summer days and the late sunsets, as much as I struggle to find comfort in the summertime in real life, the way that Japanese media depicts summer life can almost be poetic. It can be romantic or refreshing, and for a lot of people this is a time for a break and a holiday, for travelling and exploring. When summertime comes back around, you start remembering what you may have forgotten over winter. Maybe what it was like to cool down with a nice cold drink, or eat some juicy fruits. Reflexes increase in speed as the amount of bugs flying around doubles. Maybe you appreciate the way the wind blows into a car when the windows are down. You have thoughts of waking up to the sound of the sea, or maybe even sounds of seagulls in the sky. If you haven't experienced that before, it can be a very picturesque sight. Which is why I think seeing this kind of setting in a film or anime or in a game is quite common. There are stories to tell, and a particular season often needs to be a backdrop. This also contrasts completely with winter, but it's also similar. You may watch something Christmas themed or set in a snowy location in winter. Just like for summertime, you may watch something that's set during the hot summer days or in a place like Okinawa. I've been really wanting to show more Japanese media on this channel, so I finally dived in. I personally really like the combination of school life, coming of age, slice of life, and summer. I think that feeling of freedom once you reach the summer holidays is universal. So many of us experience that sensation of waiting for the summer holidays. If you spent it inside, perhaps there was some summery episodes of cartoons or certain films you would watch, or perhaps you would listen to some more upbeat summery tunes or play some games. If you went outside, perhaps you went on more bike rides or rolled down some hills on the grass and picked dandelions, or went near the sea or on the beach and built sandcastles. You may have even spent summers filled with absolute boredom. Days not quite knowing what to do. There are just so many ways you can experience summer. I think the film Swing Girls showcases the fun side of summer. It's a film about delinquent schoolgirls, and in their efforts to cut summer math class, they end up poisoning and replacing the school's brass band. And let me just say, the bike/hill scene has not left my memory since the day I watched it, which was back in 2015, by the way. Anyway, this movie is great. I love how it depicts Japanese school life in the summer. It's full of summery visuals and sounds, and it's just a feel-good movie. Light-hearted with a lot of charm. And you can go to most moments in this film or look at screenshots and feel that summer vibe instantly. And I wish there were more films like this. I think this exact feeling is pretty hard to replicate, you know, the mix of the early 2000s and that lack of constant technology. A lot of the time when I think back to those summers, I remember cycling around and going to parks or on holiday with my family without any phones or my laptop. I mean, I took game consoles, but you know. I didn't take a phone with me to school until I was 17 or something. Anyway, I just loved those moments outside, and despite my love for being inside and gaming, I still cherish the days when I could go outside and play. And this was definitely an experience from my entire childhood, all the way up until high school and after high school. The shots in Swing Girls where they're playing music, walking all together in nature, talking together in a classroom, the atmosphere is really nice. And it personally reminds me of when I was in school and I played the trombone, of all things. I kind of ended up learning to play on a whim. I actually wanted to play the violin or flute, but I ended up with the trombone and it didn't quite work out. Anyway, I was carrying this trombone to and from school on the days I needed to, taking part in the school orchestra and taking lessons. And to be honest, yes, I did hate it. But Swing Girls reminds me of the joy of music and the joy of learning instruments, especially in school, which now, despite the fact that I didn't really want to learn the trombone that much, I can look back at the times I was learning and when I did go to and from school, trombone case in hand, and I can look back on these moments a bit more fondly now. There was this excitement of starting something new. Another film directed by the same director is Water Boys, a film about 5 boys who start a synchronised swimming team at their high school. And of course the act of travelling to school on a train, or on a bus, or walking in the heat in summer, it's actually not something I'd particularly want to do again. In fact, no, I definitely wouldn't want to do it again, but it can be shown in a very nostalgic way, or an idyllic way even. It can even be something that feels like a dream. And I love it when summer is shown as this dreamy, hazy time of year. And this particular dreamy feeling makes me think of Studio Ghibli. And I think a lot of people agree that the atmosphere that Studio Ghibli films have is very special. I think the combination of the stories, the animation, the soundtrack, there's a lot of heart put into them that makes watching them feel like a comforting hug. And I think the films can be 100% enjoyed all year round, but a good chunk of them have this summer feeling to me. Like so many clips from so many Ghibli films feel like a warm summer day, so I decided to pick a particularly summery one that I hadn't seen before to watch for this video. When Marnie Was There. I enjoyed this movie a lot and I watched it whilst on a train journey, and despite watching it on a phone surrounded by people on this train journey, I still felt a huge range of emotions. From relating to Anna and her struggles and witnessing the development of connections between characters, the overall story and plot makes you think. The location for the film is beautiful and I would love to go somewhere like this myself. The film represents so many complex human feelings, and in my opinion the film also continues that special magic that Studio Ghibli has perfected time and time again. The way food looks, the way plants look, the way water looks. And I realised that watching films like this during this season makes me look at life through a fresher lens. The daytimes, the night times, the humid days and the days of pouring rain. I mean, I'm not trying to be super poetic here, but sometimes just taking the time to experience the weather and the world around you is good. Appreciating the little things like how the leaves look on the trees or how reflections look in puddles, and I think certain movies and anime and even games can show off these little aspects of life so beautifully. Have you ever experienced a really muggy, humid day and then witnessed buckets of rain soon after? Basically, summertime isn't necessarily full of hot days every single day. Rain does fall. In most of Japan, the rainy season lasts from the beginning of June to mid-July, so it's only natural that we get to see a lot of rainfall in Japanese media. And I know it's not the same for everyone, but rain brings me a lot of comfort. I much prefer it over dry, hot weather, so I appreciate it when a lot of animated works make rain look really, really pretty. Take the details in The Garden of Words. You can really appreciate the way the rain looks and how the raindrops fall and how the weather changes from rain to sun. There are also just a lot of shots in this movie that have been taken and posted all over the internet just because people love the aesthetic of it so much. And it's also important. I think it can make people appreciate stuff like rain or a simple cool drink, reflections, the sky, all of these things. And I personally love how animation can recreate these parts of life. And in anime specifically, I think the way backgrounds are drawn can be, well, amazing and somewhat underrated depending on what the show is. Interesting and unique backgrounds can be spotted all over the place, and the sheer amount of backgrounds that get designed and drawn for anime is incredible, really. I mean, same goes for all animation, of course, but I love how artists can make the greens in the trees look, the colours of flowers or the beach in the distance, colours of the sky. There's a whole range of styles they can be. I also really like the long shots of the countryside. The blue sky blending into the mountains, and the colour palette is often this gorgeous mixture of blue and green, and the power lines lead far into the horizon. And I'm just talking about a lot of the shots that establish a location or scene, and I'm a huge fan of these because they can just look so pretty, as I was saying, and it just enhances the environment and brings the world to life. And on the topic of styles, I recently watched Sonny Boy, which art style is so unique, by the way, just in terms of some of the effects they use and the way the backgrounds look and how they draw people or things in the distance. I wouldn't say this anime is super summery, but a lot of it does take place on an island surrounded by the sound of waves, plus there's a sandy beach and lots of greenery. The visuals certainly fit with this video, and the artistic direction is something very worth mentioning since it uses traditionally painted backgrounds and they just look vivid, bright and beautiful. I definitely enjoyed some episodes more than others, but you know, overall there's cats. And I love cats. I love watching a cat chilling in the sun and now I'm often very jealous. Little Forest also has a cat and is a 2-part Japanese film based on a slice of life manga by Daisuke Igarashi. In part 1, the main character returns to her rural hometown and does a lot of food making. It's almost like a documentary. You're basically watching the way she prepares dishes in nature. A lot of the time it feels like you're hanging out with her. You get an introduction to Japanese agriculture, and to be honest, as someone who doesn't enjoy cooking that much, I felt like I learned a lot watching this. The food looks delicious and the whole environment is really comforting, despite maybe the parts where it looked uncomfortably humid and wet. But in any case, the way she narrates the food segments makes it very immersive. It's just something that focuses on the simplicity of life in the countryside. It might be boring in places for some people, but overall I think it's more relaxing than boring. A lot of films tend to involve drama or some sort of conflict, and this has none of that. There's really some beautiful moments, but also shows you the hard work that goes into harvesting, preparation, etc. And overall, watching this or reading the manga is a good way to unwind in the summer. There are also those scenes where characters will sit outside shops eating ice cream and ice lollies, talking about school or the upcoming holidays, and again there is this carefree feeling. But of course not all summer media is happy and relaxing, there is some more serious and darker themes, but I will get into that soon. Places can feel so much different in the summer compared to winter. It's cool to look at the differences. Exploring and taking a walk isn't the same in each season. The elements in the environment that surrounds you changes all year. In the summer, parks and beaches are filled with more people, the food that gets sold changes, and perhaps you see more summer-specific events starting to happen. Certain sports too obviously get paired with summer more than winter. Swimming, skating, volleyball, beach sports in general, and also those like radio exercises. You see them in Animal Crossing and it's part of like Japanese culture, and even if you don't have experience in real life, it's really sweet and I like witnessing it in films and anime and Animal Crossing. Going back to sports, there is anime about scuba diving and swimming and even volleyball and tennis too, and there are a few Japanese films that involve swimming or the ocean, and there are just a lot of Japanese games too where you can dive deep underwater, explore and look at all of the fish and treasures. Games like Endless Ocean, Everblue and Diver's Dream. I don't know, I feel like you could get this very refreshing feeling if you played those games on a hot day. And staying on this kind of coastal and beach theme, there's this film called A Gentle Breeze in the Village, and this is a film I watched a long time ago. I do remember it fairly well. A mellow, idyllic and quiet feel-good movie about a school in a secluded coastal village, and oh man, I could just watch these kind of movies all the time. Even the title feels like a breath of fresh air. There are just so many pretty shots in this movie, and it's based on a manga too. It's just the kind of movie where the chirping of birds and the rustling of leaves brings you peace, and this encapsulates why I love film so much. Simple shots can make you feel at ease. It's a film that helps you appreciate culture, sounds of flowing water and rivers, the smell of grass, and what the sun feels like on your skin. And what is it with sunflowers always looking so amazing in summer media? Like, look how yellow this is. Look at this and this. Despite the fact that I am not the biggest fan of the beach personally, you can tell there's a lot of fun to be had there. Running on a beach at the beginning of Kingdom Hearts is a feeling like no other. Like I mentioned earlier, Okinawa in Japan is a good setting for summer anime. I like the film Stranger by the Shore, which is set in Okinawa, and also when researching for this video I watched some of the Aquatope on White Sand. From what I can see, it's the only anime revolving around an aquarium, so it's pretty unique in that regard, and I came to realise that I absolutely love animated penguins. So beaches are also in a lot of video games from the early 2000s. I feel like it was fairly common to see a tropical or summery theme and great quantities of water. I'll go into more detail about video games nearer the end of the video. The times I would go on bike rides and go on walks and notice the brighter greens of plants or the sparkling sun in rivers and streams, and I feel like I haven't quite appreciated it as much as an adult. And it's hard sometimes to see things through the same lens that you did as a child. Stuff can be more magical. Like, I now worry and stress more over bugs and the heat and just wasting time, and thinking I should be prioritising other things rather than taking a nice walk or chilling outside, when in fact, taking the time to stop and smell the roses is something we should all do more often. What made me think this is the film Hotori no Sakuko, also called Au revoir l'été, which is French for goodbye summer. We follow Sakuko spending time with her aunt in a seaside town. Nothing super dramatic or action-packed happens, which is exactly what you'd want from this kind of film anyway. There are some deeper topics here and there, but everything still feels pretty gentle throughout. The conversations you follow are great, and I honestly never felt bored once. Even following the basic summer activities like pumping up a bike tyre or watering the plants, it just felt nice to witness, as if I was there too. It felt very real. The actual tone of this whole film just radiates this calm and natural feeling you have when you spend time walking places and talking to people. This film actually made me want to go outside, which I very much appreciate. It genuinely feels like a recording of a vacation. It feels like a comforting home movie in parts, and I just think the cinematography is beautiful, and I also really like this detail of the dates being shown in like this diary journal format, like kind of more in a handwritten way, I guess. I like it. It reminds me a lot of my creative side when I was growing up, you know, drawing and writing during the summer holidays, and I don't think everyone necessarily enjoys this sort of film and this kind of genre, but for me and for this particular video, it is a perfect match. Also, briefly, speaking of drawing, as a little side point, if you didn't know, before making YouTube videos, I predominantly made art from about 2019 to early 2023, so I thought I'd go back and share some of my work that I think has a particularly summery feeling to it. As I said, I have never loved summer, but I do like the ideas that can spawn during the season, and there's this very idyllic nature. Capturing that and putting it into artwork in the summer is something I want to do more often. Going into darker themed stuff, there is a short animated film called Summer Ghost, which is another film that I was deeply moved by. An urban legend says that lighting fireworks at an abandoned airfield will beckon the summer ghost, a spirit that can answer any question. If you're planning on watching it, it is predominantly about death and the meanings of death for the characters, so keep that in mind because it really sends you through a whole roller coaster of emotions, which is impressive actually for the runtime of 40 minutes. Instead of a bright, happy, carefree summer, this film's visuals lean towards the blue and purple tones of evening. Despite the heavy themes, it is a serene film, and there are many moments where there is this calm, almost like you're meditating. This film to me shows the atmosphere of a warm summer night with hints of sadness and hope. And I don't say this often, but I genuinely felt changed after watching this. I also like the pairing of islands and mystery. I love Battle Royale for starters, and recently I have also started Summertime Rendering, a show about a mystery on a secluded summer island. I don't know if it's because I don't watch mystery or horror super often, but from the end of episode 1 my jaw was on the floor. The island itself is very beautiful, looking bright and fresh, and it's an idyllic location for maybe a holiday or a day out in the sun, but this contrasts a lot with the themes and story, and it made me realise how much I like this combination. Another anime with a mixture of summer and mystery is Higurashi When They Cry. From what I've heard, I'm actually a little nervous to try it, but I think I will sometime. So, a little bit ago I mentioned that I love Battle Royale, and this is true. If you've seen this film, you may know of Takeshi Kitano, who played the teacher in said film, and I have always wanted to try out watching the films he has directed. So I watched Kikujiro. Kikujiro is a very interesting film. I loved the visuals, it's slow paced and some of the shots are quite long, which I actually didn't expect going into it. Silence is utilised well, in my opinion. Like, the overall filmmaking is great. The characters are unique, there's a clear bond that grows, and the whole thing feels like this long summer holiday. It captures the slower moments of summer in a bittersweet way. I had to sit and think about this film for a while after watching it. I just love films that make you think and that feel original, like this. And in this film as well, there was a part at a festival. And I just want to mention festivals specifically because I noticed that they pop up all the time in so many anime episodes and in many films, and this is no doubt my favourite vibe. So Natsu Matsuri, which Natsu means summer and Matsuri means festival, is the general term for all festivals and events that happen during Japan's summer season. And a lot of these celebrations are centuries old. You know, this is something I hope to experience in my lifetime, and from an outsider's perspective, the festivals just seem so vivid and fun. And it's kind of fascinating to me being from the UK because it's amazing to see culture so deeply celebrated in so many different ways, and it's just so heartwarming to witness. I love it, and I'm not going to go into too much detail, maybe I can at some point, but festivals just look so exciting and cozy. Fireworks are a big part of festivals and celebrations, and there is this TV film called Fireworks, Should We See It From the Side or From the Bottom? This is directed by Shunji Iwai, who is known for many films including All About Lily Chocho. But yeah, this Fireworks film has fireworks in it. I also watched the anime film based on this, which was released in 2017, and I would definitely say I enjoyed the original live action version much more, but you know, I enjoyed seeing the parallels and the references in the animated version since I watched them one after the other. The live action film is a weirdly charming, nostalgic feeling film, showcasing young friendships and childhood curiosity in a realistic yet unique way. It shows the innocence and the recklessness and reminds me of the way that you would ask all sorts of random questions as a kid. It just makes you desire your childhood summers again. Youth can be portrayed so beautifully in summer, you know, playing video games after school, asking your friends if they want to meet up. And obviously this film also showcases sides of Japan such as cicadas chirping, festivals, kimonos, etc. So I enjoyed it. And continuing on with these positive themes. I also finally watched this film called The Taste of Tea, which is a film that I have wanted to see for years. I was actually a little unsure if I would enjoy it when I began watching it, but by the end I was loving it. And I'm someone whose favourite film length is like an hour 30 minutes or less, and this film was 2.5 pretty much. It's the quirkiest piece of media in this video for sure. There's a lot you could say about it. The surreal elements is really what makes the film because it sets it apart from so many other films about families, and this film shows lazy days and nights in the countryside, bonds between generations, and just all in all mixing ordinary with weird. We could all do with embracing the weird a little more. I think this film makes for an enjoyable watching experience in the summer. Oh, there's also this super cool part, which is animated, and it's just really worth witnessing. It's so awesome. And this is a really big reason why I love engaging in this sort of media. I love the experience of watching different movies in different seasons, all with different cinematography styles and atmosphere. The beauty of movies. The beauty of the sun in summer. I know I'm specifically covering Japanese stuff here, but of course there's summery media from all over the world. There are films out there that really feel like a nostalgic summer vacation. You know, High School Musical 2, the summer vibes in that film are unmatched. You know, dancing along to Work This Out is forever ingrained into my memory. Anyway, those are the films and anime that I wanted to talk about. There's so many I couldn't get to, unfortunately, but there's always next year. Before we finish this video, I would still like to cover video games. And I would say there aren't loads of Japanese video games that represent a carefree summer, but it's certainly worth exploring the ones that do exist. This is why I haven't really mentioned games as much as film or anime yet, and I think it's a shame because I think chill, summery games set in the countryside is a certain type of game that could be really loved. I thought I'd compile some games together for the end here. So, I mentioned it in my language video recently, but Boku no Natsuyasumi, which translates to my summer vacation. It's just a complete summer package where your goal is to build up a bunch of summer memories, collect bugs, explore the countryside, fish, fly kites, etc. Just a lot of summer activities that are fun for adults and children alike. Although maybe they specifically have more of a childlike wonder around them. A similar charming game from the same creator is Attack of the Friday Monsters, which takes place in 1971 Setagaya, Tokyo. It resembles a coming-of-age film, and I've seen comparisons to Studio Ghibli too, so looks fun, looks cute. And yeah, there's also quite a few Boku no Natsuyasumi games in the series, and also some spin-offs too, which maybe aren't as well known. Another summary Japanese game is Inaka Kurashi, which translates to rural living. It's more about countryside living, but the lovely summery atmosphere is still there. And, you know, the countryside plus summer is a great combination anyway. I think there's no denying that, you know, when you see this combination of blues of sky and the sea, just creates a very heartwarming and calming atmosphere a lot of the time. And I didn't want to forget visual novels and dating sims, and I'm not gonna lie, when you can schedule dates at places like the aquarium, the shopping district, seaside parks, planetarium, the beach, amusement parks, museums, zoos, in games like Tokimeki Memorial, it's so much fun. Like, going to these places isn't necessarily super easy or cheap in real life, so it's nice to have the option to schedule going to these places, albeit virtually. And I just really like the artwork too, a lot of the time. These places feel cozy and safe and still fun to experience. I think Final Fantasy X as well is a great game for summer. There's this warm tropical setting and these clothes. I don't know if it's just me, but I think this just radiates summer. Tetsuya Nomura has stated in previous interviews that his goal was to replicate the summertime outfits of Okinawa in Yuna's design, in particular the furisode. The furisode is a kimono distinguished by its long flowing sleeves that are often styled to reflect the vibrancy of youth and are worn at coming-of-age ceremonies. And lastly, I also find games like Jet Set Radio and Crazy Taxi to have a fun summer vibe. I have these particular nostalgic memories of going to amusement arcades, ones which look onto the beach and sea. I remember playing games surrounded by the repetitive yet fun noises of the machines and the sounds of coins constantly falling, winning tickets and prizes, taking in all the lights surrounding you and enjoying cold drinks and donuts. It's a nostalgic feeling that can't ever be replaced for me. You know, games like Dance Dance Revolution really take me back to that time, and to be honest, even writing this has helped me appreciate my summer memories a lot more, and to embrace them. I couldn't get around to watching everything I wanted, like I also wanted to watch Summer Wars and this film called Summertime Machine Blues, but that's okay. As I said, there's always next year. But yes, I'm sure there's a lot of summer media I missed, or, you know, if there's anything you particularly recommend, please do share, because sharing and discussing media is super fun, and it's part of the reason why I love making these kinds of videos, because I just want it to be a cozy, positive space for exploring the media that is out there. Particularly nostalgic media or Japanese media is what I'm interested in. So yeah, there we go. I really hope you enjoyed this video, and as always, thank you so much, and thank you if you support me over on Patreon as well. It really means a lot, and I hope you have all made some sweet summer memories this year, as it is soon coming to a close in the UK anyway. If you haven't made any sweet summer memories, then maybe check out some of the things I mentioned in this video, and you might just grow to like summer just that little bit more, like I did. Thank you for watching.